Hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. We are now on YouTube, trying to get to you, and it has been a great honor here today to have Petra Sorge. And I had mentioned to you we have a great topic today. It's all about women in leadership. We have seen women in leadership in all sorts of groups, in organizations, at home, at work, and Petra is here to tell us a little bit more. What is leadership and what does it really mean, especially for us African women? And some of you who are joining us today, my name is Joy ZENZ, and I'm the founder of African Women in Europe. And I'm very honored to have one of our members who I've met about 2 years or 3 years ago, and she has been really quite helpful to be with us, empowering us in leadership areas, and also giving us tips how to do this. And she's doing it also as a training. She's giving trainings to people. So check out on that as well. We'll be giving you more information. But before I go further, let me welcome Petra. Hello, Petra.
Yeah, hello, Joy. Thank you so much for inviting me, and that we can share this interesting talk for all our listeners. And yeah, it will be interesting also for me that we can reflect a little bit on how African women see leadership.
Great, fantastic. So just to make sure that we keep to our discussion for today, and also make sure that we stay to our topic, let me share with you our screen, the topic of today, so that you have an idea what it is about, and make you a little bit tips of what it is we are talking about today. And as you can see there, we have the whole topic there is women in leadership learning. And so I'll hand over to Petra. Petra Sorge, you can see her full name there. She will go us through and tell us more about this. I'll be more the listener, and I'll be more ready to ask questions. We've had some questions coming through as well in different ways, and we will put the question through towards in between or towards the end. So Take over, Petra. Tell us more.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joy. So yeah, I hope it will be this in a little bit of interactive. Yes, I'm going to talk about benefits for all of us when to grow into leadership, or if we are already in leadership, to grow in leadership, because it's like a constant growing process. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the developments in Germany, because it's also in the Western world, we call it new work now. All the working the business world is changing. In Germany, we say it's because of digitalization, but it's not only because of this, it's globalization, digitalization. And so this has a lot of impact, but also positive consequences from my point of view, especially for women. From my point of view, leadership in business is more than ever needing women and female competence and female ways of looking into the world. Yeah, so I come from my latest, or my new project is called I Will, International Women into Leadership Learning. And so, yeah, let's see a little bit. The first thing I would like to talk about my vision, because I come from working with women since many years. And in Germany, we have a discussion that always about the top executives should be women, and all the discussion is about that. And from my point of view, this is not at all what is necessary, because from my point of view and my vision, leadership is very diverse, and good leadership has to be diverse. And talking about women, from my point of view, every second leader should be a woman. So then I will be satisfied, because our life is like that. We are 50%, or in some countries, like in Germany, we were something like 52% women Yeah, but we are mostly ruled by men, and the higher you come, the less women you have, and so on, and so on. And
And I think we're improving that over years. It's getting better.
Of course, when I started with education and training for women, this in Germany, we nearly didn't have any female professor at the Hamburg University right away, yeah, just to give you an example. And so it's really changing, and it's getting better, but we are still very far away from the vision I have here, the 50%. Okay, let's go to the next. This is a little bit about me. So I just try to focus, because not tell you all my professional life, but interesting for the what I do today, and coaching women into leadership, is I come from empowering women, and especially women worldwide. Of course, I started in Hamburg, my hometown, and I created two big women's NGOs. One was called the Women's Week with 10,000 participants. It was in the 80s, a long time ago. And then also a women's education, or in English, better to say training center. So it was about self-development and empowering women through learning, women teaching women. And then I went into the world, and it brought me to Brazil. And by the way, in Brazil, I discovered Africa. This long time ago, because I always tried to work with Black women in Brazil, and so you you have to go into also Black history and African history, and this really. And it's not only the facts, but also the way of life somehow changed my world, my personal world, because I always worked with change since I'm very young. I really implemented change projects, but my personal change really started in Brazil. So the way to see things, the way to, for instance, to put myself first, as not first, but in a collective background. This was something I learned in Brazil. And also the interesting thing, even in Germany, I had kind of small leadership functions already, but in Brazil, the women treated me as a leader, no doubt about that. And so I was kind of, I had to change about my view about myself and everything. So, okay, and then coming back to Germany, I decided to work with decision makers, with executives, and to coach them and train them to work across cultures, to do business worldwide, because Germany has a very specific mentality, which is not, from our mentality, not very compatible to the world. I'm not talking about our outcomes. We are good in production, and we have interesting products and everything, but the way we think, we communicate, is not very global in Germany. And so this was the niche I jumped into, and I trained executives, and mostly men. Yeah, and so this was it's my background. And then I found that this work is not very sustainable for me, and kind of I was not really happy over the years. And so I decided to start a new thing, which is exactly now coaching women into leadership. And my focus, because we always, if we're entrepreneurs, we also have to define a niche. I also empower the younger ones. The so-called millennials are my focus group, which doesn't mean that I work with the elder ones too, but they are the ones I see for our future. Okay. Maybe next.
Wow, well done. quite interesting background.
Oh, if you have a question, okay.
Don't. Not a question, but it's very nice. I mean, the way you mentioned about the projects that you've done before in different countries and with women, the ones you were supporting. It's quite interesting. I will go ahead. You go ahead. Because I have a question
maybe
for you,
because you mentioned it, maybe I can comment on the pictures because, well, the first one on the left side is in Angola. It's with a women's project about human rights and working to better working relations for women. It was in Angola, and the next one is in the Caribbean in Jamaica. And I worked with a women's network all over the Caribbean and also in Trinidad and Jamaica. And so they were, at that time, it was in the 90s, they were very, very advanced and very advanced also compared to women's movement in Germany. So I can again say that I'm very grateful. I learned a lot with women from other countries and also especially from and with Black women. Yeah, and then the other part that's more the German part is on the right side. So I work with men in coaching, and I also gave many speeches. So this is one at the famous business university, and it's a WHU in Koblenz. So one who was kind of creating future leaders. And yeah, so this is just some examples out of my business life.
Great, fantastic. So let's go to the next one. So yes.
Yeah. Okay.
What women need.
Yeah. Exactly, what women need in their own words. So I didn't go into books. This is something. I have a meetup group which is called Global Women Impact Leadership, and so I did a poll. I sent them a questionnaire. So what are their needs? And so this is some of their answers. And what I want to point out. A lot of women said they feel that they need more self-confidence and self-trust according to leadership. So this was really kind of an outstanding answer. And this would be interesting because we are not now we are only the two of us, but maybe there will be a later possibility to discuss it, because I'm not sure if we would ask only African women if it would be the same answer. So this is one of the observations I do have, that maybe priorities are a little bit different. Yeah, and then I think something which is really a common thing is they like to empower the younger ones, and especially young women. This is really an issue for many women, and I guess from what I know, this is also for African women. This I think it's the same. And then there also was a big issue to turn our leading competences and ourselves more visible, and especially towards men. And also some of them, they said explicitly, so now it's gone. Maybe you can go back to the side, Joy. Do you hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay, because the page has shifted. Maybe you can go back to the side with what women need, but I can see it also here. And then let me see. Okay, here. To assert myself towards male bosses, which is really also a challenge, that men are not really seeing or recognizing women's competences. And one of the things it's due to, you probably heard about male and female or gender communication. We have different styles, but it's also unconscious biases men have, and a lot of, especially in German, a lot of Germans think of themselves that we are so advanced and we are so, everybody's equal, and this, and from my point of view, of course, this is not true, because like racism or sexism, these biases are not very conscious. So, but men in boss situations, they unconsciously, they tend to look for the same people. So they prefer, unconsciously, they prefer men and male communication and all this. So it's not only me, a lot of trainer colleagues, we are working on consciousness raising and diversity, and that men and women understand more about our differences and the different ways we communicate. Okay, the next point is a little bit similar. So this is not the sexist thing, but it's a thing, women coming from other cultures. So they also have different ways to behave, and for instance, for a lot of cultures are much more indirect than Germany. And so in Germany, you're kind of going forward. Yeah, so this is me, this is what I did, and this is what I know, and so on. And for instance, in Asian cultures, or also in Africa, you don't do this much. And so people don't recognize your competence. Even if, so I know a lot of high qualified women, and they suffer from this. Networking is an issue between women and supporting women. And then also there was different requests for the needs of leadership in the future, or in this modern world, what we now called a new work, or working 4.0 also is one of the words which are so much used. Okay, so we go to the next. The next is, or do you have a question? No. So I would come to 3 key points from my point of view now for leadership.
As I said, the questions, the way you've mentioned, it's quite interesting that the research you did here was more with the women. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, okay.
Was to do with the women probably in Germany, right?
Yes.
So your perception for the African women must be a little bit, do you think it's a little bit different?
Oh yes, oh yes.
And I believe that too, because
yes.
I think women in leadership, especially the African women, it's quite, they are already. They don't need to, in fact, sometimes you find women are the ones who are leading most of the time, even in not only, despite not being able to be given the possibility to do that, because, our African continent is very much dominant in terms of male,
yeah.
Compared to the other countries, I think. So the women are suppressed, but even then, they do have a higher tendency of leadership in taking up these roles as well. So yes, that's quite interesting, that topic. Yeah. So anyway, I'll go now to your next topic.
Yeah, but thank you so much for giving this perspective, because this is also my perspective too. Because if women are in a leadership position in Africa, or they're taking their lead, it's not only the position. Leadership is not only a function. Yeah, you're not only in leadership if you have a function. They are assertive, and they know what they're doing, and they know why they are doing it. So let me come to one point which might be interesting for African women especially interesting for African women in Germany, but also in Europe. And I call it culture intelligence. And so it refers.
Can I tell you something? Your camera is sort of going down and down. Can you make it a little bit that we can see you properly? We're just seeing you only the head.
So this, like this?
Yeah, or maybe lower the camera a little bit down.
Down? Okay. Yeah, because I
down a little. Yes, that's better.
So?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So thank you. Yeah. So one of the very important key competences, I call it cultural intelligence. It's not my invention. This is a technical term also. And so maybe you go back to the cultural intelligence, and it's really, if you do whatever international business or international organizations, because RWA also is an international organization, cultural intelligence is absolutely key today. And what I see is that global women, so women who know more than one culture, they do have already cultural intelligence. And often, from my observation, because German culture is really not understanding well your competences. So there is a kind of a...
I think I'm losing you. I can't hear you well.
Oh, what is happening? Can you hear me better? No? It's okay?
Yes, no, it's okay.
Okay, so German culture or also European culture, so it's different in the UK, but also you have this still, you have the main dominant white culture, and so a lot of African people are more put to the margins, and so depending on your own knowledge, self-reflection, and everything, sometimes you're not aware of this cultural intelligence, and this is very important if you want to go into leadership. You have to be aware of it and show more of it, and we're going to work on it. So the next thing is, and this is also key for everybody in leadership, because when we talk about leadership, everybody, the first thing we think is we think about leading others. But the basic thing for leadership, and I think, Joy, you know this also by yourself, is leading self. So how we treat ourselves, how we handle ourselves, how good we do know ourselves. So maybe you can go to the next page already, and so this is where leadership starts, and also your personal success starts. And the one thing is self-awareness, and self-awareness, so it's interesting in the English term, it can have a double meaning. So self-awareness, one thing is to know yourself well. And this is, if we don't invest time in it, we really have to invest time in it, because, and also to go a little bit deeper, this is also something, for instance, if you do work with me, you will listen a little bit more about it. Opera says a lot about these things, very interesting. And also, of course, self-awareness is what we usually understand, so that you are self-conscious, self-confidence, and all this. And what is much, much more important in this globalizing, complex world, leadership is about, and leading self is about continuously learning and growing. So it's not something you know, and then you are a leader, and then you will stay the next 50 years a leader if you don't do anything. So it's a continuous process about reflecting yourself, getting to know yourself better, or learning how to deal with difficult situations and overcome. And so it's to make your comfort zone bigger and bigger. So it's so important.
Quite interesting, because when you say the most self-confidence, self-leadership is a self, you first of all have to be confident in yourself. And this is the first part where you said that it's where that most of the people lack as women, confidence, self-confidence, and being able to lead. And I mean, being a woman, probably, in terms of the research that you've done. So is that not, does that not lead also not self-awareness? So there's a lot to be worked on in that direction?
A lot of what? Sorry, I didn't get you.
Self-confidence. First of all, it starts with confidence, as you said, and it's one of the traits that most of the women didn't have, according to the research you did before when you mentioned.
Yeah.
And now you have self-leadership, so somebody has to be also learn about it. Is it not? Yeah, there's a big part that it shows that's where it starts.
Yes, it starts, and it's not only because the confidence is not only about, because what you read maybe in also in women's magazines or something. It's, oh yeah, tell yourself, I'm confident, I'm confident. So this is self as an affirmation. It might also be helpful, but the thing is, I really take women to go deeper in really knowing and understanding themselves, because it's we are so different, everybody, and we are so unique, and even if you have three, let's say three Kenyan women friends, yeah, and all the three of you are different, yeah, even though, and so even if you have same backgrounds, coming from the same place, same education, nearly same education, so we are really different, everybody, and so it's very important to really know ourselves well, yeah. What are our strengths, or maybe we have some certain everybody has weak points anyway, but so we know how people can, and if you are in leadership, one of the things, if you are in this typical business situation, for instance, one of the things from my experience over many years, a lot of women in Germany, they leave jobs because of mobbing. For instance, when a man leaves a job, I won't say that men are not getting mobbed sometimes, but when a man leaves a job, most of them they only leave when they have a new one, and usually a better one and a better paid one. Women are so, they leave jobs because they can't stand the mobbing anymore, for instance, yeah? And so when you are in these bad business situations, then other people know very well your weak points, and they go into it. And so, of course, you have to know it yourself and to recognize your weak points and how to handle and how to stay more cool and neutral and whatever. So this is just an example. So now we come to what everybody thinks is leadership, is leading others. And what I want to highlight here is it's really also changing, and the understanding of leadership is now much more open, and which is interesting, much more people-oriented. Germany is a traditionally a fact-oriented culture and a technical. So therefore, I say in Germany, for instance, when I started 30 years ago with coaching and training and so on, people thought leadership is, in first place, you have to do a training and a course, and then you learn a technique. Yeah, and so there were different techniques on the market how to do leadership. And nowadays, not only me, a lot of people tell you it's about, basically it's about attitude. Yeah, the attitude you have not only towards yourself but towards others, and of course towards the organization and to the development and so on. So let's, for instance, it's a dynamic process, and you're part of you're leading or influencing a dynamic, so and you're in a development. And then also the key now for leading others is to understand others. Yeah, so it's really now people oriented, which, by the way, culture-wise, for instance, Brazil is high on people orientation in leadership, and therefore, by the way, Brazil is a more female, these are now technical terms and scientific terms, about a more female culture than the German one, or even the UK one, But so the people-oriented cultures always tended to look more for relationships and people and how they tick. And now it's in the key of leadership. So if you read any book about modern leadership, it's about really understanding the others and your team. And something what women really like to do is to uplift others. Yeah, and of course, women are, we have children, and of course, what do? Of course, we uplift our children. Yeah, so we did it from from the small ones, and so of course, for women, it's not a big change to say, okay, now I uplift adults, and it's really of something what is fulfilling a lot of women. And so, if you have this tendency, so you are very well prepared for leadership already.
Okay. Great topics there. So I think we have some and we don't have some, so that looks good.
Okay. So let's go to the next. Okay. So, and now you already mentioned that I have a coaching and training program for women, and so I also had to give it a name because I focus exactly on these three areas. And I created this name, the LECSO Approach, and it means leading with culture intelligence and leading self and others. Yeah, so you have it's like a triangle to focus on this, and so really, if you want to improve your leadership skills, it's about this triangle. Okay.
Great.
So, and usually we wanted to have the question now. Do you have some of questions or answers now, or do we just skip this point?
Yes, these were the questions that I think we sent you, right? The one that we were trying to gather together. So yes, go ahead with the questions.
Okay, so it's two general questions. So what motivates you towards leadership? And also what is hindering you from leadership or from being more successful in leadership? So this is a general one, two general ones. And then the ones for the learning and the improvement is the important question. What would be great to know, learn, or have for your personal leadership? So what would be the things?
Great questions there. So what we'll do with some of you who are listening right now, you can make a point of answering these questions already on our video on YouTube, and then we can answer them as we go on. So I think that would be something we could do.
Okay. Yeah, fine. Great idea. So people women can write down their questions, and then we can answer it also in a small other video or something. Great.
So I go to the next slide. Just on time.
Something. When I started with I Will, I also thought about the collective culture a lot of women coming from, and I offered a group coaching for women on into leadership. And these are some of the feedbacks and the results, so that you have some ideas. So exactly what I needed, do the right thing. This is from Anja. She has a German and Ghana background. And one of the Brazilian ones, she said, I already lead my team differently after the group coaching. I learned a lot about leadership skills, and it's very encouraging. This was from Mano. She has a South African background, growing up in Germany, and I felt deeply understood, and I will really stop to holding me or myself back. And this is by Swantje. She's German with a Brazilian work experience. And then from Tu Phung, she is from Vietnam, now being very successful as a feng shui consultant, and especially, and also she works with architecture. And she said, well, the way I coach is kind of very unique. So this is one of the feedback, or some of the feedbacks. Mm-hmm.
Nice feedback.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I liked it, and great women, and really something I can tell you, it's something I really love to do. And also when I do this group thing, it's so interesting, because of course the women get a lot of inputs from me, or interesting questions or challenging questions, but it's also very interesting to what they giving as feedback amongst themselves. Yeah. And so, okay, now how to grow. And I call the program Take Your Lead. And what I'm developing now, or for me, it's also my next step, is I will work online too. So it's not only because the other one was in Hamburg, so people had to live here, and now I open it more. It's a certified online course, and it will be this LECSO approach, also leading self with cultural intelligence, and also leading others. And I will do the course in 3 parts, and every part is 4 weeks. And so you will have weekly video lessons, worksheets, a question and answer live session, and every time one person wins laser coaching, which is a very focused coaching online. And of course, we are in a special Facebook group where we can communicate throughout the time, independently from live sessions. Yeah.
Great. I think that's a good idea that you've gone online, because the last time we had a meeting, you were basically doing it on face-to-face, which is also very good. I think it's a good tool, but now with the technology, anybody can assign to join in anytime and anywhere you are. So that's really grateful. Yeah, thanks for sharing with us this lesson. Guys, if you're there and you want to take up some of these questions, we give you more information. I think that's almost the next slide later on, how you can join. And
yes, exactly.
Yeah, so these are the Facebook pages, as you have said as well. Yes, tell us a little bit, about the next steps.
Because the next steps, okay, now women listening, and depending on where you as a listener are, maybe you're not really decided, you're still thinking about, well, shall I focus more on the direction of leadership, yes or no? I'm offering a free 5-day challenge. Yeah, so you know it from Facebook. Challenges are you join a group, and then it's 5 days. So every day you get a new challenge, a new input, and a new question. And the question is, leadership and me, how do we fit? So after the 5 days, you will be exactly able to answer, am I really going for leadership with all my energy? Or is there still something missing? Or maybe some of the women are not, or maybe the life situation sometimes is not really ready for leadership. Yeah, but from my personal experience, I can tell you, a lot of women subestimate their leadership potential. So you can find out here in the 5-day challenge.
Okay. Very interesting, because most of the time you hear leader, especially for the women, it's a big word. And I was thinking, who would be signing up for this? Because as I said, the women tend to think, okay, a leader is maybe you should be leading people. You should have 2 or 3, 4 people leading. But yes, it's something that maybe I could also ask you now, so that people can know how to enroll themselves. Why should they come to you? So what kind of leaders are you looking for?
Well, of course, as I said, I have this culture background since 30 years, and I'm really working for turning Germany a more diverse society, and so of course I focus on women who have this also a multicultural background or international experience and so on. And something I really appreciate is, and I'm especially good at that, if women have a mission or something they want to contribute to make the world a better place. So this can also sometimes maybe in your neighborhood, you work with children, or you work with other women, or so it's not, of course I come from really also coaching business leaders, but it's also leadership is you define what is your leadership and what is your mission you want to go for. Yeah. And so it can also be in this area where you do something, or you want to do something for the women in your mother's country or whatever. Yeah. So, okay. And now the other step is for the ones who are already decided, yes, I really will go for leadership, or I'm already in leadership. I start this online course in 3 parts, and the first part will be leading self, as I told you, and this is starting in November, and you can book your seat now, and you will find the information on the Facebook page. So it will be on there on the weekend, so it's not ready yet, but so you will find the information for the leading self and also for the 5 days challenge in this weekend on my Facebook page, and it's called Women Lead I Will. And that's, by the way, this is the same name on my Instagram account, so you also find me on Instagram. So I'm active and I like social media, so we meet us there. Yeah, so this so far for the moment. Thank you so much, Joy.
That's really, really informative. I think most of us now have been loaded with quite enough information now. We know what leaders are and what kind of leaders you're looking for as well, because this is also something that we underestimate as leaders. You know? So I'm grateful for giving us the overview. I would have liked more deeper bit of tips what to work on next time when we get our presentations. We could have a little bit of presentation where you give us. So next time we're going to invite more people here to come and really get an idea exactly how it is and what processes and how do you determine, especially how do you determine if you're a leader. That will be like the 5 days challenge.
This I can only really recommend for everybody. You know, you just go for the 5-day challenge. This doesn't cost you nothing, but you will gain a lot about insights about yourself and looking at yourself from different viewpoints, because I will look from different, or ask you every day, it will be a different viewpoint looking on your potential, your leadership potential. Okay.
Great. Yeah. So this is what we are looking forward to very soon, and we are very happy that you joined us today. And next time we have a very good discussion coming up, and you keep following us on our way. We have lots and lots of meetings on Zoom and on Facebook and on YouTube, where we are trying to get you to the YouTube live so that you can get it right straight on and hear your question and answer. But this one will be also with you here on YouTube, and you can always ask the questions you have. I think you saw the questions that we would like. I can show you again, if you just to remind you what it is about today. It's about leadership and also how to go the whole process, because as women, they're a little bit we have some qualities already of leadership, but we need to emphasize more the ones that Petra just mentioned. And I'm just going to show you the slides that where the questions are, so that you are able to remember what we are expecting if you have time to write them down, and she will be able to answer you directly. And it would be nice to hear what you think about all these. And so there you are. Let me share with you. So these are the questions, as you can see. What motivates you towards leadership? What is hindering you from leadership? And what would be great to know, learn, or have for your leadership? This is quite interesting, especially when you're listening or thinking about, you really have to, for the women, maybe they might have to work harder for some of these questions, especially to know, learn, and to have if you're a leader in leadership. So ladies, this is a challenge for you. And I said you can find Petra. Petra also shared with you how to get hold of her. She's on Facebook page, Women Lead. I love her logo. You always notice it, the blue one here with a little bit at the end, at the photo, you can see at the edge. That's her logo. She's also very active on Facebook and Instagram. And soon, I think you mentioned you're going to have your website, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, a website, this is one of the things I'm looking for some young women to help me to build my website and landing page. So I still work at the moment with social media and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and so it will work.
It's amazing, it's amazing. Some of this technology we have been offered. We should really take advantage, as you say. Yes. They're there. It's easy to commit, it's easy to start and to do and to train. Zoom is there to do the trainings as well. So yes, if you don't know what is Zoom, Zoom is you can download it .us, I think, and then you can be able to join so many great discussions that are going on around with different groups. And it's important to embrace this. So I'm not going to keep this discussion very long because we want it short and straight to the point. So thank you, Petra. Do you have any last saying you want to tell us?
Yeah, thank you, Joy, so much. And also we both were training also our leadership skills with the technology. So this is also nowadays part of it, that we have to want to learn to be better in Zoom, Facebook Live, and YouTube. And yes, I'm looking forward for the questions. And I also, if you already want to contact me, so I'm here. And I also will put on Facebook, there's also a new tool, a Facebook calendar. So if you're interested in doing a coaching or whatever, so you get a free online session with me, and just book it on the Facebook calendar. And so we find ways to work together. So thanks to all this technology, it's really challenging, but it's also very, very helpful, and it makes all of us more global. Thank you so much.
Well, unfortunately, some people were not on Facebook. Tell us where else. Do you have an email?
Yes, so you can email, it's contact English at I will, and then hyphen lead.com dash, yeah, genau, dash. So contact at I will dash lead.com.
Great, fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I can, do people see the when we tip something here? No.
No, they will not see, but I think they got it.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So, bye-bye.
Bye. See you next time again in this great conversation. Let's continue empowering women in leadership. And those people who don't know us, they can find us on www.africanwomenineurope.eu. We are there to give you a lot of information, share with you, empower, work with you, and partner with you different projects. And for example, we are having quite mentorship programs as well running. So if you want to looking for a mentor, we have trained mentors that have been trained. And I think, Petra, you're one of them.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, he's ready there to mentor you as well. So take advantage of that. And you can see that on www.africanwomenineurope.eu, or you can email at info@africanwomenineurope.eu. So thank you so much for joining, and see you next time. So bye-bye, Petra.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.